Well, one of the major lies that's coming from this White House repeatedly is that the border is secure.
We're going to have 2 million people cross this border for the first time ever. You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border.
Of course, that's a blatant lie. The border's wide open, and it's only getting worse by the day. Republican Congressman from Arizona, Andy Biggs, joins us now. Congressman, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Jen, good to be with you. Good to be with you.
You know, one of the major challenges that you and your colleagues are facing, it's not only fixing this border crisis, but it's exposing it. Because, you know, thanks to the lies of this administration, a lot of people don't realize how much of a crisis this really is. You are dropping a documentary tomorrow that attempts to do just that. I'd like to play a clip of that for our audience, if I may. Watch.
You bet.
January 21st, 2021. marked not only the beginning of the Biden administration, but also the beginning of the worst border crisis in American history.
What I would do as president, I would in fact make sure that we immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum.
Today, virtually everything at the border is controlled by the cartels.
America's opioid crisis shows no signs of abating.
Wow. You know, Congressman, 30 years ago, you'd never see a congressman come out with a documentary about something like this. But today, I mean, you really have to come up with creative ways to expose the truth. Can you tell us about this documentary, Alien Invasion?
Yeah, Jen, you're right. We want to get the message out, and the Democrats and the left, they don't even acknowledge that there's a problem at the border, much less the crisis that it is. You've had almost 5 million encounters at the border in 18 months of Joe Biden as president. You've had 1 million people come in and they're gotaways. We don't know where they're going, what they're doing, and what their intentions are. You've had literally in Phoenix just last week, you had 1 million fentanyl pills seized. Of all the pills seized, DEA says 40% have at least 40% have a lethal dose of fentanyl. And we actually saw a late night host this week who's a lefty come out and tell jokes about fentanyl. The reality is 107,000 people died of opioid overdoses last year. Jen, this is a crisis of monumental proportions, and I'm leaving out stuff that we show in the documentary because we have to elevate the narrative so that people understand. And what we decided is, I take so many people down to the border. When they see what goes on down there, they change their view. As we said, let's just do a documentary video of it and get it out as much as we possibly can.
Wow. And can't wait to see that tomorrow. Congressman, I was one of those lucky ones that got to go on one of those trips with you down to the border. But it was during a very different time when it comes to the U.S. border security. It was while Trump was in office. We looked at a number of sections and types of wall. We got some pictures up from that trip. We looked at gaps where more wall was to be added. We had lunch with ranchers who own these vast swaths of property on the border. We heard their stories. And so did the Trump administration. Work was being done. But that stopped under Joe Biden. The floodgates opened with his red carpet rollout, these promises of amnesty for illegals. I haven't been back to those parts of Arizona, to the Arizona border since our visit. We hear a lot about Texas. How has Arizona changed in terms of border security under Joe Biden?
Well, one way to think about it, Jen, is if for the entire year of 2020, the fiscal year, only 9,000 border encounters in the entire Yuma sector, which is about 127 linear miles, and just hundreds and if not thousands of miles of area responsibility. In this fiscal year, which is ending this week, 340,000 encounters. Just think about that. And that's what's going on down there. And then you throw in the cost of care. Yuma Regional Hospital is having to eat $20 million in the first 6 months of this year alone of uncompensated care. And the stash houses. We used to know where a lot of the stash houses were in Phoenix. And when I talked to a law enforcement officer 2 weeks ago, he told me, Andy, there are literally more than 1,000 stash houses, perhaps several thousand. We don't even know where they all are anymore. We can't keep track. And we're overrun. And this administration basically takes the position that it's not an issue. That's not a problem. In fact, they encourage this. and that's why it's such a huge problem.
Well, Congressman, Democrats, they love to talk about humanitarian issues, but they refuse to obviously acknowledge the one on our border. You see the migrant deaths hitting a record high, in large part due to the drownings as these illegals attempt to swim across the Rio Grande. The fire department down there, they say that they're seeing a drowning nearly every day. I mean, more than 800 migrants have died border-wide in this fiscal year that ends this week. That's from drowning. You had heat exhaustion, hunger. I mean, is this humanitarian crisis not dire enough for the Democrats to even acknowledge it?
Yeah, it's mind-boggling because if you go down to Eagle Pass or along the Rio Grande, they're going to tell you that the number's actually 3, 4, 5 times as high as the actual reported number, because sometimes Mexican officials remove the individuals, and other times they simply can't find them to verify. And then on the desert, I think the numbers in the like 400, 500, 600 people just die of dehydration and exposure in the desert. But again, those are bodies that we find. And so there, you got that. Then you have the sexual molestation and assaults of women and girls. It's something like between 65 and 80% of all women and girls who come across are sexually assaulted. And about 30 to 35% of men and boys are sexually assaulted. This type of stuff is outrageous, and somehow it gets ignored by the left, and
it does. Congressman, we have to leave it there, but tell us where our viewers can go and watch your documentaries. Is it on your Twitter, on your website? Where do they go for that tomorrow?
You can go to biggs.house.gov anytime after noon Eastern tomorrow, and you can connect to any of our social media, and you'll be able to watch this documentary. Thank you, Jen.
All right, look forward to seeing that. Congressman Andy Biggs of the great state of Arizona, thank you.
Thank you so much.